It's a hammer of justice. It's a bell of freedom. It's a song about love between our brothers and our sisters all over this land. It's a hammer of
John Oliver just gave us an excellent overview of the problem. Now it's time to move on to the solution. He's very correct. Humans, even though we know what is right to do, we often won't do it. In principle, yes, recycling is the right thing to do. We all know it. But in practice, often we just do what's expedient. There's nothing to recycle, I'm just going to throw it in the garbage. And so humans do what is expedient even if they know that it's wrong. And so what I'm going to talk about is not going to require a radical lifestyle change. I said that in the scroll at the beginning. I understand that humans don't do things without a monetary incentive. Well, Congress won't. They're not going to vote for the required investment in the R&D and the initial infrastructure without me offering them monetary incentive to do this. So I'm going to give them that. I'm also going to explain to you why it's so simple as the average person to be able to participate. All it's going to take, all it's going to do, all it's going to require is that we place our food waste in a different receptacle. Now, we've already done the education around recycling, so we understand the concept of things that can be recycled go in a different receptacle, a different trash can than what is considered garbage. This is the exact same thing. So it's not hard to educate. You're simply scraping it into a different receptacle. But in the pickup, what I'm talking about is waste management still running their same routes, still going to the same place. They're not changing anything within their structure other than they will have to add additional trucks. Probably. Unless they come up with maybe a different solution. But what does that do? That creates extra jobs. These are Teamster jobs. These are union jobs. And isn't jobs a great incentive? What are the other incentives? National security. What I'm talking about is something called an agricultural digester. Think of it as a giant stomach, but rather than burping and that gas just going into the atmosphere, the agricultural digester captures that gas and then converts it into electricity. Anything that turns a turbine can create electricity. Now, this technology is being developed for the use on farms to erase the carbon footprint of the farm and power the farm so that their waste product then goes into the agricultural digester. It is converted into electricity that powers the farm, and the byproduct of that is a fertilizer. So you're getting something from it. Now, all I'm talking about is expanding that idea to a national scale and placing agricultural digesters adjacent to every landfill in the United States. So the other incentive I'm talking about then is manufacturing. What would this do? If our government were to invest in the R&D required, because I'm talking about now bigger This would require bigger digesters because you're talking about a more massive amount of food waste than even a single farm produces. And that would create manufacturing jobs. Now, the other thing I'm talking about as far as incentive is this would create a revenue stream. Can you think of any time we've talked about infrastructure where we've asked the government to invest in something that they would actually recoup their investment on? And if they were to be smart about it, they would not only recoup their investment, they would gain from their investment, because this could produce a revenue stream. You're now creating electricity where that simple action of the individual or the restaurant or wherever we have, or the grocery store, placing that food product, that what we call biomass, anything that rots and produces the greenhouse gas, anything that produces methane can be put in here. So now that simple act of placing it in a different receptacle comes back to you in the form of electricity. Well, that creates a revenue stream. And, if the federal government were smart, they would take that revenue stream and use it for other good things, even paying down the national debt. But it also creates national security, because right now we're facing realistically the possibility of a cyber 9/11. Dan Coates was talking about, he was asked a question by Andrea Mitchell, what keeps you up at night? And he said the very real possibility of a cyber 9/11. Because we've attached everything to the internet. We're internet connected in everything. And so we've left ourselves open to a cyber attack. Well, what I'm talking about also is agricultural digesters producing electricity now more at a local level, all feeding in to the grid system. And so if one part is shut down, you've now multiplied, exponentially, the sources that are powering the grid. And so in reality, those could be blocked, and so if one part goes down, you still have local power. There is the possibility there. But it's simple. And the other thing to understand is this is unique to the United States. Only we produce this amount of food waste. China doesn't have food waste. Russia doesn't have food waste. Where this could be helpful also, though, is in perhaps India, because they have a large body of biomass creating another large pocket of greenhouse gases, much as we do. But this is unique to the United States. And rather than it being an issue, we should make it part of the solution. And the other thing that can be done later is actually mining, if you will, capturing the gases that already exist within the landfills. When I drive, up north, I don't actually drive, but if I go up north from where I am in western New York and go towards Niagara Falls, you'll see these beautiful, well, they're not really beautiful, they're green rolling hills. And those are just landfills that they've finished with. But you also see these white pipes, big white plastic pipes coming out of the ground. And the reason they're there is so that the ground doesn't rupture, because of all the gases building up underneath. Well, it seems to me there's a possibility to cap those and actually capture the gases and then do exactly what I'm talking about as well. There's a lot of potential. and we need to use the potential. Solving global warming, solving climate change, requires that each nation use what is unique to them.